Hello and welcome to Drawing Bigfoot. Hope everybody's doing all right out there tonight. We've got a good show tonight, something a little bit different. I'm going to let our resident artist, Laurie Batson, explain what's going on. But we did do something similar when it was the anniversary of the Patty footage, didn't we? And you drew Patty, and we listened to an amazing interview with Bob Gimlin that you hosted with Bob and John Green, because you have I'm going to put a link in the description, a whole host of interviews that you did a few years ago, like a heck of a lot of very interesting interviews on a blog talk. I think it's called Wild World.
Yes.
And we're going to play one of these interviews while Larry's doing a drawing. Why don't you explain who William Bob Dracunis is he still around?
No, we lost him. Gosh, I'm thinking 2 years ago.
Okay.
Everything's kind of with all this COVID stuff. I'm kind of lost track of years, but he was probably, without a doubt, one of the most enthusiastic people involved with this. In fact, to the point that he even developed his own Sasquatch mobile, which is filled with all kind of computers and whatnot. And he managed to meet Jane Goodall and had her actually in his Sasquatch mobile, I guess you'd call it. And she was truly interested in this, and was she said she wasn't so involved with the chimpanzees, that she would definitely think about looking into the possibility that the world is sharing with this unknown whatever it is. So,
wow,
yeah,
amazing.
Oh yes, his sighting. I haven't heard it since I listened to it this morning, but this is probably one of the greatest sightings, because not only was Bill there and saw it, but two FBI agents.
Oh,
So,
right.
yeah, so this is going to be interesting. What I'm going to do is of course I'm going to draw, but I'm going to draw a particular part of this. It'll all make sense as we get into this. So
Okay.
hopefully everybody enjoy it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, me too. I'm just going to swap us over like that, so I can make you bigger somehow. If it's just you and me, there we go.
Oh, how did I do that so quick?
That's really good.
I ain't done it yet. That's the problem. And it looks cloudy.
Yeah, I'll come to in a minute. What I'll do is I'm going to mute us as well while this plays. So if you do want to say anything, we'll probably stop as we're going through it to discuss. Because I got to listen to about 15 minutes of it. Like I say, my batteries went and the headphones died. So, and I feel like I just got to a really good bit. So I'm looking forward to getting back there.
This will be a look into Bigfoot history for sure.
Yeah, this is going to be really good.
Yeah.
Mm.
Come on.
When you move your hand, just move it slowly away from the camera instead of just go slowly back. No. Isn't it strange? It does that sometimes.
I know.
Maybe when you get your pencil on there.
Yeah, probably.
There, it'll find something to focus on.
Yeah.
Right. Let me find this audio.
What about that?
Hopefully it'll
come on.
There's always something, isn't there?
I know. I think we're
not right. We're all blurry. Sorry about this, folks. It's just one of those things.
I guess I should have bought a better camera, and this is the best one.
out of the best ones, you got the best one.
Yeah, I was told that,
Mm.
but who knows?
It could be lighting. It could be anything that makes it do that.
It's just trying to drive me crazy. Is what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Here, let me try this mic here. See if this has anything to do with it. Am I seeing it? It's better.
It's better, yeah.
It's
might-
better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'll come in.
Hope so. We can
Yeah.
only but try.
We'll give it a go.
Okay. Right. I'm going to play the audio. So I hope folks enjoy.
Bill Dracunis is the most important person to look into the legend of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. From developing the best gene cam to building an amazing vehicle to pursue the Bigfoot in their own habitat, and being the owner and caretaker of hundreds of acres that apparently a tribe of North America, the world's most interesting mammal, is living in its boundaries. It will be one of the most important shows that we have on Wild World. We are great pleasure welcoming, if I could talk, Bill Dracunis to our latest show on Wild World. Hello, William.
Hi, Larry. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's our pleasure.
Should we try and sort this some blurriness out?
Yeah, I'm trying everything. And we don't have any audio either.
I've just
Oh, you
posted.
did. Oh, you did. Oh, okay. All right.
We can talk. What, has nobody heard anything at all? Has nobody heard the beginning of that interview?
Wow. All right, let me just see if maybe I can get it to go here.
Oh, it's gone clear now.
It has.
Yeah. All right, guys. Let's if you listen to that audio. Let me go back a little bit, shall I?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
I can't remember where we started.
Using vehicles to pursue the Bigfoot in their own habitat, and being the owner and caretaker of hundreds of acres that apparently a tribe of North America, the world's most interesting mammal, is living in its boundaries. It will be one of the most important shows that we have on Wild World. We are great pleasure welcoming, if I could talk, Bill Dracunis to our latest show on Wild World. Hello, William.
Hi, Larry. Thank you for having me on.
Well, it's our pleasure to have you on. It's my goodness. I was trying to think the first time we met, and I'm almost certain, and I could be wrong. It was at the National Conservation Training Center in Shepherdstown, West Virginia.
Way before that.
When was it?
Let's see. Give me a date. We'll play the game again. Give me a date.
I'm not.
That was our first meeting was actually was in Ohio at Don Keating's conference that was held in an elementary school. And some of the speakers or some of the attendees were Scott Harriet. I think that was his first time out here. Ray Crow was there. Let's see, who else was there?
They were Meldrum.
No, this was even before Dr. Meldrum, I think, got into it. Smokey Crabtree was there also.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting next to him in the crowd. Don Keating and a lot of the locals, a lot of the Ohio East Coast local researchers were there. But I still have some pictures of you out there and everybody else. So I think that was the first time we ever met. And then subsequently we met at other conferences there. And then that led up to the Conservation Center up there in West Virginia. So we sort of go back quite a ways, I think.
Well, I feel so bad. I'd forgotten all about those. I think
that's
a lot. You meet so many people, it's just hard to pinpoint it. But
yeah,
we really get a chance to know each other all of West Virginia.
Yeah, I'll send you some pictures that I have from those conferences because I've been sitting on a lot of them. So I'll get those sent out because it was fun. It was interesting times back then in the early days, and for most people anyway, most of the younger researchers back then just getting started. But you and others, Smokey Crabtree and Ray Crow, you guys have been in it a lot longer. So, but I'll get those pictures out to you. It's some good times.
Well, they were and they are. Now, I think one of the first meetings I can remember going to in Ohio with for Don Keating's group, and I'd never did any type of. This was just a regular meeting, so I was a little not really prepared what I was going to run to as far as an audience or people that were interested in this. And I get out of my truck, I walk across the parking lot, the guy comes up to me just out of the blue. And he says, "You must be the speaker." I says, "I am." I said, "Well, I don't know nothing about Bigfoot, but I've been abducted by aliens and they stuck things up my penis." So I come so close. Turning around, getting back in my truck, and driving back to Indiana because I thought, my world, who attends to things? So it kind of gave me an inkling of what was ahead, I think, to some degree.
Yep.
But some great people, though, like yourself and many of the other people I've had a chance to meet. It's been fantastic, and now be involved with it. So how long have you been investigating this, Bill?
What's that again? Could you repeat that? It was breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, how long have you been doing research or investigating the Bigfoot Sasquatch phenomenon?
Since the moment of my sighting, that was in Culpeper, Virginia, back in March of 1995. Before that, really had no interest in it. Had really nothing to do with it. But after seeing one of these things in the flesh and blood and having two FBI agents witnessing it by your side, that turned my world upside down. So, the work I was doing at the time was working under an FBI contract, and we did a lot of surveillance work, and we were sort of in charge of locating and surveilling people that didn't want to be found. And this sort of dovetailed perfectly, where, I had all the capabilities, equipment, things like that, to try to find this creature and film it in its own habitat. But, I threw a lot at it, but wasn't able to get that one on film. So, but I had a hell of a good time trying, learned quite a bit, met a lot of interesting people. But that was my start. That was back in March of 1995.
Well, tell us specifically what happened on that day, if you don't mind.
Please.
Sure.
Yeah, tell
Well, it was by pure luck. The group that I was working with, a bunch of engineers, worked with several of the field agents and things like that. And one of the agents had some land down by land in Culpeper, Virginia. And it happened to be right across the street from a property that was owned by a pulpwood company. At that time, it was Glasfelter Pulpwood Company. And this gentleman had permission to actually go on to their property. Another agent that I met through church, he had a metal detector, and we talked a lot about going metal detecting together. And so one time I asked the agent through work if we could utilize that land, the pulpwood company, because that land that he actually had permission to go on to was owned by for a long time by the Glasfelter Pulpwood Company. But even prior to that, prior to the gold rush, that property over there was the biggest producer of gold prior to the California gold rush. So it was a very productive area when this country was getting off its feet. So we said, what the heck? Yeah, let's do that, because once the gold rush started, everybody in Virginia just dropped what they were doing and went out west, because basically it was told that they were just kicking nuggets around with their feet. So everybody just dropped what they were doing, went west, and staked their claim out there. So we decided to go metal detecting one day. It was middle to late March. It was a pretty nice day outside, a little chilly, no leaves on the trees yet, but it was a pretty nice day, sunny. We got off early in the morning, about 7:30, 8 o'clock. We were in the woods. We visited a lot of the quartz piles, a lot of caved shafts and mining pits, things like that. There were still a number of vertical shafts there that had filled with water. And a lot of the wooden ties and supports had floated to the top, so we were able to see those. Pretty dangerous area too, with a lot of these shafts and caves and things like that. So we went around metal detecting, found a lot of metal, some slag, things like that. No gold. Found some quartz with pyrite. And we decided to head back. It was about 1 to 1:30 in the afternoon. And we were going along a logging road. It was a hard pack logging road. The two FBI agents were in front of me. I was still behind them about 6 to 8 feet, swinging the metal detector back and forth, still hoping for that piece of gold that somebody dropped, or coins or anything else. But it ended up where the agent with the metal detector dropped his detector to the ground, raised both arms up and said, "Stop." And then he said, he took his left arm and his finger, and he dragged it from his shoulder to the tip of his right finger on his right hand, and said, "From my shoulder to the tip of my finger, 75 feet in behind that tree is a man." And both agents at that point drew their weapons and pushed me behind them. And I thought, like, wow, what's going on here? We haven't seen anybody all day. And here they are. These guys are drawing their weapons because of something that one of the agents saw in the woods 75 feet away. So I'm looking over their shoulders, and I'm looking at this tree, or this little group of trees where the agent pointed to. And this large head pops out and peers at us, basically looks around the edge of the tree, peers at us, and pulls back real quickly. And I just said, "Jesus Christ," because I was so shocked, because this head didn't appear where a normal human standing up would be. It was much higher, about another foot and a half higher. And both agents pointed their guns there, and about 3 seconds later, this thing started running from our left to right. It was, to me, it was moving really quickly. It was very quiet. Didn't hear any noise. I actually had tunnel vision, which is a form of shock. And as soon as the creature started running, all I could see was from its base of its shoulders right about to the hips. That's where my vision was, and it was a tunnel, basically tunnel vision. And I was able to see the hair, some of the skin, the hair flowing. And then as it was running from our left to right, my vision started to open up. And then I could see the head, the legs, the feet, just everything as it was running. And it had to me, it looked like it was a full-blown run, like a sprint, because it was moving so quickly, and the arms were moving, legs were moving. You could see the muscles bulging. The speed and agility of the creature was just totally amazing. And then it took a hard left turn, which we found out later, it actually pivoted off of about a 6 to 7 inch diameter pine tree. It actually used its foot and pushed off of the pine tree to take a hard left turn. From there, it went down a hill, an embankment, a gradual sloping hill, I guess you'd say, or an embankment. And at that point, you could see the shoulders going back and forth, and the shoulders were 4 feet wide.
Wow.
And that's exactly what they were, just huge, huge shoulders. Really not much of a neck on this creature, but there was some, but not much at all. Sort of a conical shaped head, but again, not too much. Shoulders were just, again, huge, tapered down to a narrowed chest and just huge thighs, almost like a football player. And as this creature was running down this embankment, I noticed discoloration in the back of the hair, where there was shades of gray starting to appear. And I later found out that the primates also do this, the great apes and things like that. Gorillas and chimps, the older they get, the more gray they get in the back of their hair in the back shoulder area. But this thing turned, it kept going down the hill, disappeared out of sight. One of the agents said, "It's a bear, let's get out of here." And when he turned around and looked at us and said that, the other agent sort of glanced down at his hands and made sure I looked at that. And his fingers were still on the trigger of the gun. And his eyes were bloodshot. And you could tell he was obviously in shock. His face was red, eyes were red, just shaking, nervous. And so the agent, my other agent friend said, "Yes, it's a bear, let's go." And the other agent pushed me back, and we started walking back down the road to the agent's house across the street. It's about a half mile away. We ended up entering his driveway and started walking closer as he got to his house, and he just continued to his home, walked up the steps. We said, "Thanks for having us over for metal detecting, and we appreciate it very much." And he just kept walking, opened the door, went right through opened the screen door and the front entry door, and went into the house and shut the door behind him. But during that full time, he had his hand on the handgun and finger on the trigger. So we decided, let's get out of there. We got back in the agent's car, went down the road a little bit. He pulled over, put the car in park, looked at me and said, "You know what we just saw?" And I said, "A Bigfoot?" And he says, "Yes." And then he immediately said, "This is as far as it goes with me." He says, "I have a important job and family that I need to protect. This won't go well, over in his career if this got out." So he said, "You could talk about it all you want, but don't include me in anything." So I said, "Okay." And that's where we left it. He did go back with me about a week later, or a couple days later, because he didn't want me going back in the woods alone. But after that time, that was just about it. He didn't go back down in the woods. And since that time frame, since 1995, we ran into each other at the grocery store maybe 4 times. And that was as much time we had together since the sighting. What was interesting was Daniel. I was interviewed in Ohio by Daniel Perez. It was during one of the Ohio Bigfoot conferences, and so Daniel interviewed me and was very interested in the sighting, the eyewitnesses that were there. And about I'd say about 5 years ago, Daniel called me up and he said, is there any way that he could talk to one of the agents? And I said, well, last time I asked him, it was a big no. But I said, I'll try again, because I knew one of the agents that was a friend of mine there. He had retired. And so I called him up, and I asked him if he would be able to do a phone interview with Daniel Perez of the Bigfoot Times. And the agent said, he was quiet for a second or two, and he said, it'll be my first and last interview. So I called Daniel Perez up. Daniel called him right away, because I didn't want to lose this opportunity. And then, so Daniel called. About a half hour later, Daniel called me back, and he said, I just finished the interview. You guys saw Bigfoot. And I said, no kidding. I've been telling you that for years. But Daniel said, but I never knew that. I never talked to another witness that witnessed what you saw. And he said your stories were right on, except for the speed of the creature as it ran through the woods. I said it was a sprinting run. The FBI agent said it was a loping run, but it covered a lot of distance in a short amount of time. But otherwise, the day, how it transpired, was exactly the same. The interaction with the other agent at the time of the sighting was exactly the same. What we did afterwards was exactly the same. So he collaborated the story, and Daniel has that. I'm not sure if he's published it or not in his newsletter, but at least we do have the other agent down to verify the sighting itself.
That's pretty credible witnesses for that sighting. I mean, that's right up there with the testimony of Yellowstone Park Ranger Bob Jackson on his sighting in Yellowstone.
Yeah, I agree.
That's I'm kind of offended by Daniel Perez not believing your interpretation right off the bat and had to double check your story. But
well, no, I think he believed it. He just wanted to confirm it, which is fine.
Sure.
I can't blame him one bit. I'm all for that. I wish that the agent would have spoken up then, but he was still working his job and his career, and
sure.
I don't blame him for keeping quiet about it. He's got a family and everything else. But I am grateful for him to get back on the telephone and talk to Daniel.
Sure.
Because it was a very interesting sighting. 75 feet is pretty close. What was really interesting was when the agent saw the creature, because we were again walking down a logging road, and the agent said that I saw movement out of my peripheral vision. He said I looked over, and he said I thought I saw what was a man, but he said I saw it before it saw me by about 3 seconds, and he says I was watching it in its face, and he said as soon as it looked up at me, he said the expression on both of our faces was oh shit. So it was basically a surprise on both of their accounts. You never know you're going to see somebody in the woods, but thank goodness the agent had the experience. He actually did 3 tours of Vietnam as a point man and also an FBI agent. So he had the experience to, I guess, be always on the lookout. No matter where he is, when he's there, he's out looking for danger, I guess, to make sure that everything is okay. But thank goodness he was able to spot it. If he didn't spot it, that thing would have spotted us rather quickly and just stopped and hid behind the tree, and we wouldn't have known that creature was even there. So we were very lucky to have him there.
So what was after? Okay, you have your first sighting, and all of a sudden you realize that there's something behind all this. What was the next thing that you did?
Well, because of the job I was in, I was dealing with a lot of high-tech video surveillance equipment, night vision gear, thermal gear, motion detection, ground vibration alarms, all that sort of stuff, custom concealments. That was sort of my life, and I was designing camera systems and building them myself for these guys. So I said, boy, what a parallel effort this is, They said, geez, I should be able to get this creature on record and filmed within a couple of years. And so I went about designing and putting out camera systems, because basically game cameras back then, they were still using 35 millimeter film. So they were pretty basic back then. But I was actually doing video and some light digital snapshots and things, but video was the big thing. So I went with the video camera system and, did some really sort of neat concealments for cameras, things like that. But I learned a lot about camera concealments afterwards, and I just kept modifying the systems to make them better. A lot of times I'd get things thrown into the field of view of the camera. Like I did get a lot of animals, things like that. One of the interesting experiences I had was a deer that was looking up into the camera. Again, this was a video camera and with audio. And once the subject would walk in front of a surveillance area, there was a pie-shaped, it was a PIR system I had, a passive infrared detection system. Once the subject entered the PIR fence, basically, the system would send a wireless signal to the camera system and start recording. And that would turn power on to the camera and recording system and everything. But what was interesting was the deer was flexing its ears back and forth as it was hearing something. And I found that very odd. And it ended up where I learned about deer and the hearing they have, and found out that they could hear into the ultrasonic range. And I ended up going online into a government auction and buying a ultrasonic leak detector. Those ultrasonic leak detectors are used for finding pinhole leaks in pressure boilers and steamers and things like that, so that they could catch these leaks before they get too large and explode. So I bought the leak detector online. I tested it. It worked out great. I put it onto the camera systems and started to do some basically some studies on it. And after observing the camera systems with this leak detector, I found out that it produced ultrasonic sounds that humans can't hear, but animals can. And with this detection system also came a probe tip where you could actually use this probe tip to touch different components of the circuit board. So you could actually take the camera housing off and actually touch the different electronic components. And I found out that certain components actually do produce lots of ultrasonic sound, which vibrate from the electronic component into the circuit board mounting screws, and then into the circuit board housing and the camera housing. And from there, it's broadcast out to the world. So
that's pretty fascinating, isn't it? That
It is.
Cameras are actually giving off something that animals can pick up.
I've tried to tell people that, but they can.
Yeah, this is fascinating.
Yeah.
And also the effect it had on his the other guy.
Oh,
he couldn't get the hand off his gun.
no.
Till he got home. I mean, that's, it just shows you the reaction, the effect these things can have on people.
Absolutely. And just think that was someone in law enforcement that's also been in the armed forces, and to get shook up like that. I can remember one time on another encounter or sighting, I interviewed the witness that he'd been to Vietnam, and when they ran into this thing around their camp, he said that he wasn't this terrified when he was in Vietnam and heavy combat. So
wow,
yeah, so it is interesting. I mean, we let Bill has passed on now, and he was such a good friend, and in fact, this is the last interview that he did.
Wow.
I believe he passed about 2 weeks after this. He had cancer.
Oh, right.
And I believe it was about 2 weeks or so after that interview that he did pass away. So I'm thrilled that I had the opportunity to talk to him.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'll start it back up again. Some people are mentioning the chart. You're not tracing anything, but I mean, you might not have done it this time, but on these occasions, sometimes you might just draw a little outline before you start. But I don't know if you did this time. I don't think you did you?
Oh, I didn't need to.
You didn't need to. There you
I
go.
only need to do those when I'm doing the one
The
for
drawing shows.
yeah. Well, yeah, when I draw I do a forensic drawing, I have to, but for my own memory and because Bill talked to me about this for quite a bit, so I had a rough idea what it looked like.
Yeah, well, that's all right then. Yeah. Just clear it up for everybody. But Larry does just draw freehand. But like a couple of occasions, I've just noticed, or he's told me that he's drawn an outline. I think we did it once. I don't know if it was the Patty one, where you just started off just to save a bit of time. You put a small outline in, but literally that is it. There's no, no cheating, no whatever. It's all
take all the fun out of it.
Exactly. Larry's all the.
I can really do this, everybody.
He can do it. Honestly, he can do it, and in 36 minutes to do something like this, and it's just going to get better anyway as it goes along. Is a lot of concentration and skill to do this. A lot of people start drawing something, walk away for a little bit and have a break and come back to it, but to keep doing this the way he does is really good. So anyway, let's get back to this interview.
It was amazing that these cameras produce ultrasonic sounds, which were all sorts of sounds, like just wild electronic sounds, almost like buzzing of bees, like a beehive.
Sure.
But the detector could pick it up 50, 60 feet away, which was amazing, because I'm walking in the woods and I'm looking around for my game camera, and all of a sudden I can't see the game camera, but I could hear it with the ultrasonic leak detector. So I figured out that maybe the reason why these creatures aren't being caught on film is because of the camera systems we're using are basically primal, basically, in their existence. So I went ahead and started spending tons of money and time and purchasing electronics online to try to defeat the ultrasonic components, and putting on all types of vibration dampers and soundproofing and that sort of thing, to where I got that pretty good. And so then I started burying the camera systems below ground in waterproof cases, so that the whole system was underground except for the camera itself, which was above ground. And then I went from bare wires to basically armored wiring systems, where it's almost like an electrical conduit that went around the wiring, because all sorts of rodents and things like the smell of plastics, and they would chew through the plastics and short out the wires and communications and things like that. So, the evolution of the camera system took years to finally perfect. But during that time, I did get recordings of things being thrown into the field of view of the camera from behind it, sticks, things like that. A lot of animals, but no physical Bigfoot creature itself, no smoking gun. But just the technology involved in trying to pursue this and try to come up with different avenues to beat the creature at his own game, basically, it was a big puzzle. It was one thing after another, electronically, soundproofing, and then you have smells associated with the soundproofing systems, smells associated with the underground cases, the Pelican cases. So you're always halfway there. You never had a foolproof system, so to speak. But I did that for a number of months down in the woods in Culpeper, the same location. Tried leaving bait piles, things like that. Nothing like that worked. I don't think the bait piles really work. But anyway, it was one day when the that agent that lived across the street came up into our facility, which was a secret facility. He had a contract there. And he came up and came into the fabrication shop that I ran up there, and there was nobody else there. And he looked around and he started pointing his finger at me, and he said, "Whatever you guys spooked down in those woods is coming to my house at 1 o'clock in the morning. My dog is howling like it got stuck with a hot poker, and my wife is telling me to shoot that thing that's standing right where you parked your car." And he said, "Stay the beep off of my property." And he turned around and walked away, walked out of the building.
Wow.
So that was the last time that I talked to him, for maybe, probably 10 years. Because I did stay off his property after that. I didn't want to go back there, and I knew I upset him because, again, he seemed again to be in the state of shock that whatever I was doing down there was coming up to his property and trying to figure out, who was doing what. And that creature or creatures going up to his property spooked him and his family and his wife, and he didn't want me down there anymore. So, I told him I wouldn't be back, and that was fine with him. And so I wasn't able to research that property anymore. And then it was about, I guess about 4 to 5 years ago when Daniel Perez asked me to go have the agent call. He also asked me for some pictures of the sighting area, and I said, sure, I'll go down there. And so I used that opportunity to call the agent that lives there. And so it ended up where I was down at the property. I ended up going through the woods to get back to the area where we had the sighting. And I was walking through the woods, and I was quickly met almost maybe about 100 or 200 yards from the sighting location by 4 guys on quad vehicles. And I was pretty stunned because I was like, what the heck's going on here? But the guys on the quads came down and said they work for security for the pulpwood company. And I'm not supposed to be there. And I said, I still have my paperwork with me from the Glasfelter Tree Company that said I did have permission to go there and help conduct surveillance because a lot of their equipment was being damaged. Their logging equipment was being damaged, so I was putting up camera systems to help them catch the people that did it. But I showed them the paperwork, and they said, yeah, this is great paperwork, but Glasfelter Tree Company sold the rights to the property about 7 years ago. So, so they asked me to leave, which I did because at the time an arrest would mean loss of job, income, and everything else. So, I told them, sure, I'm out the door. I won't be coming back. I went to the agent's house afterwards. We talked a little bit. I put down an audio recorder and said, do you mind if I record our conversation? And he said no. And I told him I'd like to go over what we saw that day down in the woods and when we went metal detecting. And he said, sure. So we recorded everything, and the whole day was, exactly as it was. And then when we got to the point of the sighting, I said, we saw the agent dropped his detector and put out his arms, and he says, yes, yep. And then I said, we saw something look from behind the tree. And I said, what was it? And he says, I don't know. And I couldn't believe it because he was right on target with everything throughout that whole morning of metal detecting. Sure. And I asked him again, I said, this thing peeked around the tree, and he sort of nodded his head. And then I said, well, what did you see? And he said, I don't know. And then I said, well, it ran in front of us, and it went from our left to right about 180 degrees, and it went down the hill. And he said, I don't know what it was. And at that point, I was sort of disgusted because everything was going so well. And then it ended up where I just said, okay, well, we're done. And we started talking about work and things like that. And then he asked me, are you going to turn the audio recorder off? I still had it on. And I said, oh, okay. So I shut it off, and then he asked for it. He checked it and looked at it, made sure it was off. And then he said there's still a lot of crazy shit going on down in those woods. And I said, what do you mean? He says, just a lot of crazy shit. He says, that's all. So he wouldn't go into it, no detail whatsoever, but it sounds like whatever was going on down there is still going on. And during that time frame of my research, I did find different size Bigfoot footprint tracks, some even like 5 inches long. So there was a lot of activity back then. There's still a lot of activity now, but there's no way to get into that property. The Popewood Company is not allowing anyone to go in there, and they have a security team that monitors the site. And I think they have other types of surveillance devices, either passive infrared or motion detection or ground vibration sensors. I'm not sure, but they got me like nobody's business when I went in there, and I thought I was being pretty stealthy going in there. So, but I haven't been back there since, but probably won't. It's just it seems like the area is really closed off to any type of traffic whatsoever, people traffic, hikers, things like that. You just can't get into it. So,
I've always said that I believe that there's someone out there that has a film, a video that's even better than the Patterson-Gimlin film. And they haven't told anyone about it because they're afraid it would ruin their retirement home, their vacation home, wherever they've spent their entire lives saving up for, knowing exactly what would happen. That sort of information got out to the general public.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I still believe. Our guest, Bill Dracunis, we're going to take a short break. You're listening to Wild World right here on Blog Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
Like I said, that was one of the most interesting people I knew and have interviewed, without a doubt. Did we lose Daniela?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was saying that's fascinating. Like you say, he had one of the most interesting ones I've heard. He was really determined to try and get to the bottom of it, but no backup at all.
He ran out of time. I think if anybody would have made the, I don't know if you want to call it discovery or not, but he just plain ran out of time. I mean, that's it wasn't meant to be, and he was determined. I mean, he spent tens of thousands of dollars on developing the game cam, and it was he said he was going to bring one to my house, and I said, well, come on, Bill, and we're going to check it out, set it up in my woods. And he didn't live long enough for that, so we didn't get a chance to do that.
That's a shame.
And it definitely is.
Yeah. Just I'll just press the enter a bit too quick then. I'm going to put the link for the full interview for people to listen to. And I'll also leave it in the description. Just going to put it in the chat now. And then you guys can... Oh, that's too big. Let me get rid of some. Just 200. Brilliant. There's the link there to the interview. If people want to go and listen to it after or at any time. Yeah, and that thing following him back to the house.
Yeah, it's
interesting.
It is, and like I said, that's one of the best yet that I've ever talked to. I mean, as far as credibility and so forth. So I was proud to call him a friend too. He was just a great researcher, and he's just first class. Guess what?
What?
I have a picture tweaked and ready to go.
Wow. Send it to me. So what would you suggest now that people still think about doing this with trail cams is to bury the unit underneath and underground, and it's just so the camera's sticking out. But like I said, he didn't pick up anything really then, did he? Other than
No.
something being thrown at the cameras.
I remember somewhere I saw him and we were talking. I said, well, those trail cams don't work. He goes, yeah, I found that out the hard way. The hard way. I spent a lot of money. And he did. He spent a lot of money. So it was.
Well, they kind of do work. If it at least deters them. Might not be able to get them on camera, but you can definitely steer them.
Yeah.
It sounds like with them, maybe someone can steer them into not a trap, but a camera that's going to be facing them because there's nowhere else to go. I mean, I don't know.
Well, you're right. You're absolutely right. I mean,
like that.
To get the real important information or evidence, you're going to be trickier than they are, and that's saying a lot.
That's going to be pretty tricky, isn't it?
Yeah. Hey, guess what you got?
Oh yeah, let me get it. Peeking out from behind the tree. This is a really good one. I mean, they're all good, but this is great. Let me just load it here. Oh, where am I?
Didn't arrive.
I am.
Huh?
I said I disappeared, but I'm back. Give me 1 second just to upload this. Yeah, I'm going to listen to it again.
Yeah.
I think I want to listen to it again, just straight through. Put that on there. Okay, so amazing. The eyes always.
Well, it's when I'm not doing a forensic drawing, I can move along pretty quick.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's a lot easier doing it this way. I guess in terms of it's that translating, isn't it? The description onto paper when we have a guest on. But watching you do it like this is pretty amazing. And in 52 minutes, pretty good.
Oh, well,
pretty good.
It's all these people that watch that inspire me to do this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's great.
And don't forget about our mugs.
Don't forget the mugs. I was thinking about the mugs and it's going to be Christmas soon, isn't it? If you want a mug for Christmas, order one now. Because there's a bit of a queue for mugs. But let me put the information there in the bottom. There's an email address there, lbatson@peoplepc.com. If you want to donate to Larry's Wildlife, get something for it. Get a mug or get some of his artwork. And you're doing badges now. You started doing them.
Yeah.
Not badges, sorry, magnets.
Yes.
Badges as well, couldn't they?
They could, absolutely.
Be anything you want them to be.
You bet.
Have you got a little magnet there?
Oh, yeah. Yes, I do. Yes, I just happen to have one here.
Look at that. That is cute for a Bigfoot. That's amazing. That is really good. Definitely want one of those. Guys, if you want one of those, are you starting them? You started them?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, well, there you go. If anyone wants a mug, magnet, badge, image, anything, just email Larry. We'll have to work on your camera, won't we?
I don't know what causes it
going on there, isn't there? I don't know if it's the light or something like that. We'll work something out. Yeah.
I don't know.
You're welcome, Kevin. Eventually, you and Kevin got in contact.
Yes, we did.
Sorted that out, so that's good. There was an issue with the email, but it's all sorted. So, Kevin, I'd like to see you with your mug, a picture of you with your mug, if you don't mind, when you get them, and that would be good to show. Christmas ornaments. You see, it's never too early to shop for Christmas. Apparently,
That's right. Ho ho ho.
you know, it's only 7 months away, something like that. Anyway,
Ho ho ho.
exactly. All right. Well, thank you, Larry.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I'm going to put it back up again just before we go. Very curious looking one, that one. Wondering
yes, he
what's
is.
we hear that a lot as well, don't we? These sometimes, you know, that when people spot them before they spot them.
Yeah.
And it's that look of, oh, poop. As he said it a bit differently, but it's that, you know, they can read. These folks are reading on their faces the look of I've been caught out, or they're obviously give a lot with their expressions, don't they?
They do.
People to read stuff like that.
Yes.
So it is fascinating. And once again, thank you for doing this.
You are welcome.
Yeah. And of course, anyone wants an image of this, a copy of this, get in touch with Larry.
Please do.
You can put it into a frame and, you know, stick it up on the wall.
Yeah, let's put it on the wall.
Put it on the wall. Well, where else would you put it? I mean,
well, yeah, you wouldn't put it on the floor, so
you never know.
Never know.
It's strange as folk. Yeah. But either way, guys, we'll be back here tomorrow night with Wednesday encounters, and we do have an encounter. I'll be here with Kerry and our guests. Until then, everyone, have a great night, and we'll see you all soon.